Albert Awol, the voice of the jungle, broadcasting on the DVC to all points unknown. If you're within the sound of my voice, you're listening to Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Hello and welcome home and welcome to the Waitlist. This is our second Waitlist episode in a row.
And I'm tired from the first one already.
You're tired from the first one already. Okay.
We're back to back, everybody. Just because you got a week in between, I did not.
Well, you're not supposed to show behind the scenes of how things work.
Deadpool. Always have to.
We actually recorded an entire year's worth of episodes and you just don't know.
That'd be amazing if we could just predict all the news that's going to happen.
That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Hey, listen, I would like it if we just had like two waitlists in the cut. Like that would be the amazing part.
Oh, if
we got to spend the time to do that.
Yeah. And it's tough because these both are really great ideas and they're topical as well, I feel like.
Yeah. So the question for this Waitlist episode, and again, if those of you that are new to the show, our Waitlist episodes are topic-based shows where we ask ourselves one question and then we just come up with crazy ideas. It's like armchair Imagineering almost, right? In a way. But so this one is Josh Giamaro, who's the president of Parks and Experiences and all that stuff, has recently said several times, and Bob Iger also said this on the recent earnings call, that Disney plans to spend $17 billion at Disney World within the next 10 years, over the next 10 years. So the question we have is, on what? What are they going to spend $17 billion on? Because
not bubble wands.
Yeah, there's going to be upkeep costs in there.
I don't think so, though. I think they're trying to say new development at $17 billion.
Yeah, I feel like that budget is for new. It's not just...
So, and how many years was it?
Over 10. So you're talking about $1.7 billion a year, I guess, right?
And what is something like Moana costing? Do we even know? What did Tron cost?
Tron costs, I think, I know some of the bigger coasters cost like $500 million, I'm sorry, like $500 million.
Let's see if we can find this out.
Are we all
Keep going?
right now?
I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can get some info on Tron here while you're doing that.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, listen, I know that So, like, huh?
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say, so I've just found this list on Mickey Blog of what some of these rides cost to build. So, like, Remy's cost $120 million.
And Tron is definitely more expensive than that.
Oh yeah, definitely more expensive than that. Just the canopy alone. Tower of Terror was
Everest was $100 million in 2006.
Yeah, so nowadays that would have been a lot more. Radiator Springs Racers was $200 million.
Test Track was $300 million.
Wow.
Pandora, yeah. So let's call it Test Track Plus. So it's probably in that $500 million.
Rise of the Resistance was $225. So, I mean, Star Wars Land as a whole was $1 billion, wasn't it? That whole thing was like $1 billion. So
I'm still of the mind that there is some sort of fixing up stuff costs in there as well.
It might be.
But yeah, I mean, so pretty much what you're saying is, what do you think they do for the next 10 years in a nutshell? I don't know if they necessarily, I just don't know, right? Because when I think about that, I have to take into account what's happening in other places that serve the same money demographic, right? At Universal, at SeaWorld, at, all the other places. What does Disney do? Is it another land? Is it just more rides? Is it a new park altogether? I mean, that's kind of what you're asking me.
You're talking a new park by itself. Okay. It's going to be what, $5 billion probably?
Yeah. So
like 3, 4, 5.
Here's some context. So I couldn't find Tron specifically, but I found Disney Shanghai, which is where Tron was originally built. Disney Shanghai, this is from 2016, keep in mind too. So, prices inflate over time. Shanghai cost $5.5 billion to construct over 5 years. So that's an entire park was $5.5 billion. And we're talking $17 billion over 10 years, which, to your point, Damon, that could imply a whole other park potentially, but I don't think we're getting that either.
Yeah, do you think we're really going to get, do we think we're ever really going to get another park?
I don't know, man. So first of all, I was just going to say too, Guardians of the Galaxy apparently costs $500 million. That's the one I was talking about that was $500 million. But I don't see anything for Tron. But
it makes sense that it would be somewhere similar, let's just say.
Yeah, probably. I mean, the show building alone for Guardians, I mean, that building is gigantic. I mean, absurdly large. Like you can see it from probably from space. But to your point, right? So like $17 billion and like you said, 5.5 billion. I mean, that was a couple years ago. So, I mean, if they're building a whole new park, probably they'd spend $6 billion maybe. I mean, but see, here's the other thing though. They spend differently at the foreign parks because they don't actually spend the money on those. The companies that own the parks, pay for that stuff, which is why they have all the cool stuff because they're willing to pay more. They have bigger budgets. So, I mean, if Disney were to build their own thing and they actually had to pay for it, I mean, they might pay less than 5.5 billion for something,
So, but then that implies that, we're getting closer to, we should get a new park, but like I said, I still don't see that happening because I feel a lot of this money, and kind of like what you were saying, Damon, I don't think it's upkeep necessarily, but I think it's refreshing or reinventing things. And
so maybe like you of Spaceship Earth, like that they had announced but then postponed. Like, does that count in there? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, and I hate to say it, but I think as much as I know you say you don't like things being replaced, Damon, I think that's going to be part of this. Is that they're going to, or I guess, what else could they replace at this point that is in a state where nobody but Damon would miss it. Sorry.
I think there's a lot of that. And it begs the question of like, is Disney like big enough size wise? Disney World, at least, right? Is it big enough? It might be.
I think Hollywood Studios needs some love, honestly. Like
you just had Galaxy's Edge. Like, what do you want to do over there?
I think outside of that, the rest of the park is really not in a good place. Like, if you walk by, like, because there used to be like
Toy Story Land. What do you?
I'm talking about like where Who Wants to Be a Millionaire is. There's like whole.
So you're saying about like redoing those areas with rides, or new stuff?
or experiences or something, because it seems like there's a lot of like outside of those lands that you're talking about. There's a lot of area that you walk around Hollywood Studios that just feels like nothing. Like there's not. There's
what do you put in there?
Well, it's interesting though too, Trevor, because there was a rumor too for a while that they were going to get rid of the Indiana Jones show and put the Indiana Jones ride there, right? Like, so those kinds of things.
They could spend money on that. That would be fine.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to factor into the $17 billion, right? Is stuff like that.
And listen, $17 billion is a huge number for an individual. For a business, it is, especially like Disney, it is not this tremendous number that we're thinking.
They make more than that in a quarter.
Yeah, I mean, like we're talking about like rides, costing $500 million. You have 10 years. So I mean, how much can you really do? I don't know. Hollywood Studios, I could see, again, getting a little bit of an update in those areas, like you're saying, Trevor. I could also see the Indiana Jones being turned into a ride would be phenomenal. Animal Kingdom,
Dinoland. That's what
Dinoland. That's going to be money.
Yeah.
That's going to be money, right? And again, what are you doing? You're doing, an e-ticket ride, or you're doing? We just don't know.
Well, the talk was Zootopia and Moana, right? Like that was the thing they teased.
I mean, that could be a couple billy right there.
It could, yeah. I mean, if Avatar and Galaxy's Edge cost, I think Avatar was like 600 million or something like that, and Galaxy's Edge costs $1 billion. Yeah, I mean, you're talking a bill for that new land. I mean, that seems to be the going rate for a new land these days, right? Is $1 billion. Right?
So, yeah, I mean, again, I think that I wouldn't mind seeing. Again, so if we had our what would you really like? Yes, I would like something done in that Animal Kingdom. What was it supposed to be? Zootopia and what?
Zootopia and Moana was what they teased.
Moana's done because Moana's at Epcot. So let's just call it straight Zootopia, which I think would be better anyway for being there.
Kind of cool. Yeah.
With you. Mm-hmm. I would take
that. Better. It fits a lot better.
So I'm going to pick out one thing from each park that like I would kind of like to be done with this $17 billion. So give me Zootopia Land. I think the ride itself could be not a roller coaster, but something like a ride through the city. Like, let me think about something a little bit less screeny than Jimmy Fallon, but something along those lines. I'd be fine with that.
So, I mean, more combination of animatronics and screens, like more like Rise of the Resistance, which has a fair amount of animatronics, but still screens.
Yeah, I go with something like that, but maybe something that makes me feel like a little bit speedier, even though it doesn't need to be. You know what I mean? Like, kind of like I'm going through the town, like it's zippy, like I'm doing stuff. Okay, so that's my ride there. I come over to Hollywood Studios. That's a tough one. I think, again, because if we're not getting Marvel, let's just pretend in these 10 years we don't get Marvel, then I would be okay with redoing Indiana Jones. I think it becomes a lot cheaper because they already have it. Yep. You just make a little bit of a better version.
You just expand on what they've got.
I'm good with that. And then at Epcot,
they got to redo Spaceship Earth. They got to go back to those plans.
I mean, that's, again, you're asking me what I want. You're all going to have your choice here. You're going to all have your chance to decide.
The thing about Spaceship Earth is that's an add-on. That's not a redo.
Yeah.
What do you mean it's an add-on?
Well, you're not ripping down.
Yeah, you're
not tearing down Spaceship Earth.
Yeah.
You're tearing down the insides. It's a redo. It's a retheme or whatever it is on the inside.
I mean, that wouldn't be bad, but I'm still for a Figment ride here, like a better Figment ride. So I'm going to say you're going to redo Figment, but like, redo it way better. Little bit more like trying to think of a ride that I like kind of like Diagon Alley, but for Figment. Like, I'd be down with that. Yeah. And then I'm left with Magic Kingdom. I mean,
we already got a tease of what could go there is the Villains Land and Coco and
yeah, but I still also, it pains me to say this, I think, but I wouldn't mind the Shanghai Pirates there. I'm not going to lie to you. Like, it hurts me to say that. Cool, man. Like, it does really hurt me to say that because the nostalgia factor is tough.
That is a spicy take.
It is a spicy take. But I think if you're telling me, like, I think I might be down for that. And listen, I could get on board with. Did I ever see Coco? I don't think I ever saw Coco. What else did we say? And Encanto?
Coco, Encanto. Yeah.
And Villains. Dude, if you gave me a Villains park, go ahead and spend $10 billion on it. Like, you ain't got to ask me twice.
Build a whole Villains park? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, if you just did a separate Villains park for $10 billion, you ain't got to tell me twice. Yeah,
well, do a Villains park and make it like all thrill rides. Like, don't even put any kid rides in it. Just do like all hardcore roller coasters.
Like, that sounds awesome, but as we found out with Alien, right? Like, but you'd have to make all the rides like, you know what you do over there? You just make all the rides like a height for
like 60 inches.
You make them like 48 inches, so you eliminate them at least bringing in super young kids. Like happened on Alien, and
it wouldn't be no kids, but it would be like
that could handle it.
And the rides would necessitate that because they would be more thrill rides, so you'd have to have that as well.
Yeah. Now, Damon, it's interesting. You focus completely on attractions. I assume this number also includes hotels, including.
I don't care about hotels though. Like, we're hoteled out, man. Like, what do we need? Do we need
the Epcot hotel?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm kind of like less worried about that because I'm not buying more points. I just don't see myself needing more points. I mean, I'll probably buy more points if they open Epcot Hotel, but I don't need more points.
You can sell some of your points and then buy more, yeah.
If you had an opportunity to stay at the Epcot Hotel, regardless of points, would you stay there?
Oh, yeah. I think I still would buy points. Like, I'd buy, obviously, like, what's the minimum? Like, you got to tell me, like, could I buy 50 points, you think?
I mean, it's an add-on, maybe.
As an add-on, maybe. If you tell me I got to buy 100, like, I guess
that's a lot.
You can get 50 points on the new hotel, so
you just have to. Yeah, if you're an existing member, you could do a 50.
I take 50 direct points there. Yeah, I mean, I'd rather stuff than another hotel, honestly. But
now here's a bit of a crazy thought too, just to further expand on the Epcot Hotel. What if they actually built a hotel like that at each park? Like, because the thing is we have those hotels that are
the monorail's not close enough, right? Yeah.
So. These are the, like, you walk out of the hotel.
What if they were a different class? Like, they were like a step up from deluxe.
Yeah.
Ultra deluxe.
So what if the points in theory were double what we currently see
Ooh.
at the other ones?
God. Can we not?
I mean, we cannot, but again, these are going to be, they almost
let's-
have to be. I like
Let's
that.
ignore that and just like, they're spending money.
Would I want it?
Could you see them doing like, here's 4 new hotels, one at each park? Like
Well, I mean, having a park at Animal Kingdom,
a hotel
like in the
yeah.
park.
I mean, the lodge is not all that far off from it. The bus ride
you
from
walking?
the lodge to the park
you
is
walk?
like 2 minutes. No,
But I mean,
you can't.
You can't walk.
I actually, can you walk?
I gotta say, Tom, it's a different vibe when you literally walk out of your room into the park. Like
Listen,
I know
my
what that
first
feels
DVC
like.
stay was Bay Lake, man. I know, like it's a whole different thing when you can walk 10 minutes to Magic Kingdom because you could just, randomly.
When your hotel has an entrance into the park, like a private entrance, that is even different than like walking. Yeah, it's a different vibe.
I'm with you.
What-
I'm just saying, Animal Kingdom Lodge is, about as close as you can get without being.
What if it was in the middle of the parks?
God, in the middle.
Yes,
because they were talking about this with the
and they're
Disneyland
super
stuff.
tall.
Yeah,
And you could just people watch from your hotel room. It's like
just sit from your room on the porch, just eat popcorn and creep on people. Yeah, that's great.
There's that family going on Everest again. Gosh, isn't that like 10 times already?
But Dad looks really sick. Maybe someone should help him.
I mean, that would make food really good though, because like if you could just go into the park to grab a bite and then come back, gosh, that sounds phenomenal.
Room service would feel good too if you're people watching.
Yeah, because I mean that would be really good. That would be really good. I'm still, if you had to choose though, I still think Epcot is definitely where I'd go first, right? Because 17 billion we already talked about is not a ton of money when we start talking about all these projects. I don't even think could they build 4 of them? What did Riviera cost?
I don't know. It's a good question. I'm not really sure how much hotels cost. I really couldn't tell you. But to your point, Damon, what'd you say, Trevor?
Are they more than attractions?
I don't think so. I can't imagine a hotel would cost $100 million. That feels like a lot. I don't know.
It's going to be tough to find too, because once you do that cost, you're not going to get the cost of the building it.
Yeah, no,
you're going to get the cost of the hotel itself, unfortunately.
To your point though, Damon, so going back to Epcot, right? I agree with you on I totally agree with you on the Figment thing, right? Like I feel like they finally need to do Figment justice and do like a really cool Figment ride, right? Like this Figment's such a cool character and there's so much interesting cool stuff around him that you could do a really crazy ride, right? Like, and then to your point, to what I was saying, I mean, I think they need to go back. I mean, I don't think they really abandoned the Spaceship Earth refurb, but listen, the thing is showing its age on the inside. I think it's time for an upgrade, and the upgrades that they had previewed a couple of years back before the pandemic looks pretty good. I mean, it looks like it was going to be really cool what they're going to do. So I'm all for that. Like, let's do that. I also would like to see more countries in the World Showcase. Like, let's get another country or two in there. It was rumored for a while that Brazil was going to be added. Remember, we thought at D23 they were going to announce it, and they didn't.
That would have been nice.
Yeah, Brazil would be great. I mean, there's a lot of countries I'd like to see added. I also totally agree with the Dino Land thing. I know I've been on record here before saying that I like Dino Land. I like the theme. It's fun, but I'm okay with you tearing it apart and doing something new. Because honestly, the last time when we went to Dino Land, I mean, like, where Primeval World was is just like there's just huge empty space there now. It's just it feels so empty,
Yeah.
So the resorts are around 350.
Really?
Yeah.
350 million?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what they're talking about Reflections costing, I think.
Wow. That's surprising to me. I wouldn't think that they would cost that much.
4 hotels in the parks. Let's go.
4 hotels, make it happen. But even if they're to your point, Trevor, even if they're 350 million, that still leaves them with $16 billion.
Yeah,
those are all hard costs. There's still soft costs associated with all of that, right?
Yeah,
they've still got a quarter of their budget and like 7 years. So
yeah,
I don't know. I think a little bit of this too. They have to keep in their back pocket to see what actually happens with Universal and how that affects their business, right? At the end of the day, still a business. I think they have to keep some of that money and see like, hey, so what does this mean when Epic Universe opens up, right? Like, does it mean that we're getting more visitors from farther away and they're going to want to stay at both? Does it mean less money for us? And what do we need to do to get some of that back? I mean, maybe I'm overestimating like what it will do to Disney, but they have to be cognizant to be able to do something should it impact their bottom line.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I actually tend to believe they're not going to build another park, right? So
yeah, I would agree. I don't even think we need one. I hate to say it, but I don't think we do.
Well, because you think about it now, just it's hard enough to cover everything in a week there. You know what I mean? Like, you can't even do everything. So if you add another park in, you're talking, first of all, everyone wants the fifth gate, right? Or if you want to call it a seventh gate, if you can include the two water parks, right? Everybody wants that, but then you kind of forget of what the consequences of that are, right? Like, park tickets go way up. Right. You probably do less on your vacation because you have to go to more parks. Maybe your stays are longer, or you come back more often because you want to do stuff that you didn't get to do. I mean, there's a lot to building another park like that.
Choice paralysis is a thing.
Yeah.
People underestimate. And you're right. Like the thing is, we go for a week and that kind of works out nicely. Like, we obviously don't get to everything on every trip either.
Yeah.
But a week feels like enough for us to get to, at least the 4 parks, because that's what we want to do. If a 5th park was thrown into the loop, then I'm having to choose where I go.
Yeah.
And that, I don't like that idea. I do not think we need a 5th gate at Disney World.
I agree with you. I saw Josh D'Amaro also made more recent comments too, where he was really emphasizing expanding the parks that they have and expanding within the, he was talking about expanding outside the berm. You know what I mean? So like he was talking about how Tron, they built outside the berm of Magic Kingdom, and how, the Coco stuff and the Villains Land would be outside of the berm. Right. But he's like, listen, we have all this space. Like, we have space to expand the current parks. And so to me, it seems like, and they've been focused on this for a long time, right? Because they've been focused on expanding the parks that they already have. And so I think that's the route that they're going to go. I mean, I think we are going to see some new lands, especially, the things they've already kind of teased. It feels like the momentum is there for the Magic Kingdom stuff with Encanto and Coco and with the Villains Park that everybody, the internet has been talking about forever.
It's not happening, man.
You don't think it's happening?
No.
The Villains Park is not happening?
Nope. No.
Really?
I don't think so. Rewind back, when it happens and tell me I was wrong, but I don't think so.
Like, I don't think it's
I don't think it's going to happen the way everyone thinks it's going to happen.
Okay.
Like everyone has this like vision of like Maleficent's castle is like a mirror to Cinderella's castle, right? And it's not going to be that. I think it's going to be very muted and
more
kind
like
of underwhelming.
Castle, more like the Beast Castle from above.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like think of it in that scale that it may look nice for a minute, but I don't think it's going to be as an amazing experience as everyone wants to believe it'll be, unfortunately.
Yeah. No, I mean, I would love if they brought back the whole concept of Beastly Kingdom, right? Like, why don't they bring that back?
Yeah, where are my dragons?
Yeah, bring some dragons in here. Listen, I mean, there's room in Animal. Forget the whole Moana Zootopia thing.
Yeah.
Animal Kingdom, just do Beastly Kingdom. You already designed it years ago. Do it. Although the rumor always was that Beastly Kingdom, that the Imagineers that got let go from Beastly Kingdom, and that became Islands of Adventure over at Universal. So I don't know. Maybe some of those concepts have already been done, but yeah, I mean, listen, do Beastly Kingdom, get some dragons going. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Dragons
and unicorns.
Although the problem is there, right? Like,
well, Universal's already doing it and they're ahead of the game.
Yeah.
What's that?
I said Universal's already doing it and they're ahead of the game.
What, the dragon thing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
so it would have to be something else then, right? Or whatever.
And plus, it's not tied to an IP, right? Like, everything Disney does now is tied to an IP, right? So it's like, are they going to do original attractions anymore? It doesn't seem like it.
It's a shame, but yeah,
it is a shame. I mean, but is Universal's not doing original attractions either? They're all IP, right? Like,
so I know you say Disney's not doing original IPs anymore. I mean, that does not mean forever.
No, that's true. It could change.
Because the thing is that was, years ago they bought into, Star Wars and all that.
Corporate synergy.
Yeah. But I feel like we may be hitting a turning point here where you may actually see some original stuff come back into the mix, because they're kind of watering down the Star Wars and the Marvel stuff a little bit too much. And to your point, Damon, about, they're already doing these things over at Universal, and back to your earlier point about, them kind of waiting to see what unfolds at Universal. That might be the play, is wait and see what they do, and then release something new, a new IP that, brings the hype and the attention back to them after Universal's kind of played their hand, right?
Here's a question. So let's say Disney somehow gets the theme park rights back for Marvel. Do they build an entire park around Marvel, or do they just build a land? And where would they build it? I would say Hollywood Studios. That just seems to be where they throw stuff.
It would be Avengers Campus East is what it would be.
But would you build it there knowing that you just built Star Wars land there? Would you build it somewhere else, and where would that be? Like, again, what would make more business sense, even if it didn't necessarily make the most sense of the parks?
I mean, the only place it really fits in is Hollywood Studios, right? Like,
that's what I'm saying. Forget about it fitting in terms of IP. What makes the most sense in terms of where to put it? Because you just built Galaxy's Edge.
I mean, it's a tough question. I mean, they sell space over there. They can still build in that park.
That goes back to my point about there's those whole areas that just have nothing in them at the moment.
Because that's what I'm saying. Like, Tom, I get what you're saying, but they just built Galaxy's Edge there. They did. Like, let's put it somewhere else. I think you throw it in Epcot, man.
I mean, they did just throw a Marvel property in Epcot. I mean,
anyway, exactly.
Yeah, there is that big gold dome that they're not using now, right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. I really want them to do something with the Wonders of Life Pavilion. I just want to go back in there so I could be like a 8-year-old again. Like it's been so long since they've been in that building, and it's just sitting there. Can they do something with it already? That's another thing. Add that to the $17 billion list. Do something with the Wonders of Life Pavilion. Bring back Wonders of Life. Bring back Body Wars. Let's do it. I'd go back on Body Wars again. Let's do it.
If only.
I mean, I think that was the first simulator ride I ever went on was Body Wars, if I remember correctly.
I mean, I can't think of anything earlier than that. Was
Star Tours was before that though, right? And then Body Wars.
Yeah, I guess it was. Yeah, you're right. Star
but
Tours
I don't remember going on Star Tours when I was a kid. I don't think I did Star Tours when I was a kid. I don't think anybody in my family was into Star Wars, so we might have just avoided it.
Oh, wow. Sorry to hear that. Because I did Star Tours when I was a kid, and it was like life-changing at the time.
Oh, yeah. I can see that. Yeah. Anyway, no, but I mean, like, look, I do think that they're going to spend this money, and I do think that listen, we talked about this on the last episode, too. They said this on an earnings call. So I don't think that this was like a flippant thing. I don't think it's like a thing that they're just, putting out there as PR. I think they legitimately do plan to spend $17 billion. And I said this on our a couple episodes ago that, I think we could be on the cusp of another Disney decade, where they're spending money on building new things. And I mean, they have been. I mean, listen, I feel like Disney takes a little bit too much criticism for like being complacent when I don't think they are. I feel like they've been constantly opening new stuff. Like yeah.
I agree with you. They're not complacent. It's just they're not as bleeding edge as everyone wants them to be. There's a middle ground there.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they can't be bleeding edge. It's too costly to do so. Too many experiments and too many failed attempts ends up costing them money, and that's why people get frustrated because they're like, just do it. It's so easy. Well, if it was so easy, they would be doing it. Like,
I mean, you could bet $250 million on a ride that people end up not liking, right? Like,
and you're, I think, the poster child for that is Superstar Limo, which, that if anybody who hasn't seen that is, probably the worst Disney ride in history. Like, it was just bad, and they salvaged it with the Monsters Inc. ride, but again, that was more money sunk into it to redo it, and they don't want to do that.
The last version of Figment, though, before the most recent version, that was pretty.
I think Superstar Limo was still worse.
Yeah,
I mean, because at least Figment, like, I don't know. Superstar Limo was like
just really bad.
It was trying to do something, and it wasn't even like relevant to anything.
It's just kind of amazing, Trevor, because I know you look at these things too, right? And like some of the stuff that Disney's doing at the international parks is like what you're looking for, right? It's like the groundbreaking stuff, and it's like, I mean, even just look at the Haunted Mansion that's at, what is it? Is it Hong Kong? The one where it's like
Mystic Manor's in Tokyo.
Mystic Manor is incredible. If you haven't watched a video on that online, just like watch a video of that.
Oh yes,
it's incredible, right? Or watch the stuff they put in Shanghai. The Pirates of the Caribbean there is insane. You know, like it's an insane ride. Like, and so it is disappointing because, you know, we want all those things in the States, but like at the same time, I mentioned this, like if you listen to Imagineers, and again, I'm going to bring up Imagineering story. They talked about all the time about how some of the Imagineers really wanted to work on the international parks because the ones that had to work on the domestic stuff had like really tight budgets. And if they were working on the international stuff, they were just like, well, we'll just spend whatever we want. We could just, you know, we can make it as amazing as we want to do it. And it's just, it's Disney. I don't want to see Disney's cheap. It's just they don't want to spend as much on some of this stuff in the domestic parts as they do as the international. And the international, like I said, they don't have to pay for it. They literally are not paying for it.
Okay, so being that we are we're out of time here.
Yeah, we are.
But let's leave this as a closing thought. Is you know what you're just saying about the international parks. Maybe part of the 17 billion is they have some plans for the international parks, and like Tron and like other things that they brought stateside, maybe we need to be looking at what's happening in Shanghai and Tokyo and see what maybe hints at what's coming in the next 10 years.
Yeah, that could be.
So food for thought.
Yeah, that could be, because they already brought Tron over from Shanghai, right? And Tron was the Space Mountain replacement of Shanghai, right? Like they don't have a Space Mountain there because they did Tron instead. So, like, yeah, I mean, maybe, but the problem I think becomes,
and
right?
Ratatouille came over from Paris.
From Paris, yeah. Yep. So, like, some of that stuff has happened. The problem is, like, I want Mystic Manor, but like, I also don't want you to replace the Haunted Mansion with Mystic Manor, you know? Like, but I don't know how you do that. Like, can you put it somewhere else and have two haunted house rides?
Maybe it goes, let's stretch and put it in Animal Kingdom.
All right. That's a bit of a stretch. Yeah,
it is, but sure.
But I mean, to your point though, right? Some of the foreign parks they're building a Frozen land, an entire land to Frozen. Like that would be hugely popular in the States. Like even the Frozen 2 came out a couple of years ago now. Like Frozen is still huge. Like you would, I mean, if you made a Frozen themed park here, it would be big. I think it would be. Even if it was 4 years down the line, I still think it would be big because they're going to make another Frozen movie. I mean, of course they are.
It's a franchise with staying power at this point.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, my daughter's still obsessed with Frozen. It's all Frozen stuff. Even like I said, even though the movies were years ago now. So to your point, yeah, it's almost like sometimes they use those international parks as like testing grounds for some of the stuff they're bringing over here. And you know, if it's like a proven winner, they're like, okay, well then we won't. They're so risk averse here, right? Where they really don't want to spend big bucks on something that's not going to work out. But if they do it in a foreign park and it's like, oh, that was huge, you know, Tron was huge, you know, what you call it, the other ride that we just were talking about that they brought over, Ratatouille was huge in Paris, right? Like let's invest the money, we'll bring it over, and you know, it'll be big here too. So like maybe that's the case. Maybe you're right. I don't know. I think, like I said, I think we're going to start to see some of this getting announced over the next couple months, maybe to year. I don't know. I think before the end of the year, I really think that they're going to have at least a 5-year plan of what we're going to see the next 5 years in the parks. So
I don't doubt it there, but I think we'll have to talk about it on the next episode. Because
this is what happens when Damon leaves. You know, he can't yell at us and tell us we need to end it. So
well, but I think it's time we end it because we could go for another hour, but this is a wait list. So,
all right.
I guess thank you everyone for listening, and we'll see you guys when we're back.
Yeah, we'll be back next week with a fresh show, and hopefully too much news didn't happen in between when we recorded while we're gone. So anyway, this has been the wait list.
This is Skipper Albert A. Wall, the voice of the jungle, signing off from Welcome Home Podcast on the DVC.
Do a huddle when we hit its hair. How she can cuddle is no man's affair. I looked around from pole to pole, found her in a sugar bowl.